Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Today I'm going to go over some of the things to consider when building your own camper van. First thing you have to consider is, are you building it from scratch or are you buying an existing camper van and modifying it to suit your needs? Then you're going to decide, if you're going to buy one, what chassis do you prefer it to be on? So there's a Ram ProMaster, there's a Dodge Sprinter, a Freightliner Sprinter, Mercedes Sprinter, Chevy Express, and you even have the Ford Transit and Ford Econoline. You could even go back some years and find a Chevy Astrovan or some other platforms. Once you know what chassis you're going to use, then you're going to come up with your design. You have to decide where you want the kitchen in relation to a bathroom, and if you're going to have a bathroom, where is the bed going to be, and how it's all going to function. So I'm going to walk you through my own personal camper van, which is the 1997 Airstream B190. That is an existing camper van. They built 1,384 of them from 1989 to 2000, but I did some modifications so it better suited my needs and did some updating as well. Being in the RV business for such a long time, I thought that the bathroom was the most important thing to have. But after interviewing dozens of people that I met out on the road, a lot of the homemade camper vans don't have bathrooms at all. Now I have one in mine. This is what they call a wet bath. So it's a shower and a toilet combined. And the toilet dumps into a separate black tank. This one has approximately 8-gallon black tank. And I have about an 18-gallon gray tank for sink and shower waste. And the way it works is there's an onboard water pump, there's a fresh water tank, and I have about 28 gallons. And that water pump pumps up pressure inside the van, pressurize the water lines, and then when you turn on a faucet, there's a drop in pressure and the water pump kicks on and gives you adequate water pressure. The way this bathroom works is the shower wand hangs up here on the ceiling. There's a bathroom fan for ventilation, and then I have an inner curtain that goes all the way around the track, and it velcros in a strip right down the middle right here. And then there's a drain on the shower floor, and then the pan itself has a lip on it. You just got to make sure that you do park completely level, otherwise it will not go down the drain. And then for privacy for the toilet area, you have an accordion door that pulls across a track, and then it snaps into this snap here. So I found a lot of camper van conversions that people have done themselves, and they don't have showers, and some of them don't have toilets. And what they do is they go to a gym or a YMCA or a workplace and they shower. That's all good, but sometimes those places are not going to be available, especially when there's a global epidemic. So it is something you do have to consider. One other thing that I found very useful in my own conversion is a laundry basket. So when I'm done biking and I have all my sweaty biking clothes and all muddy, I put the clothes in the laundry basket, and I could bring that either to my home, because I don't full-time in this van, I'm just weekend warrior, or I could bring it to a laundromat to get clean. But it's better than just having a bag of clothes laying around or storing them outside in some of those carriers that you put on your spare tire carrier. Another thing to consider is refrigeration. So some people have coolers that run on 12 volt or electricity. Some people have regular coolers that just have ice in them. I have a NovaCool compressor style refrigerator. And although it is small, it holds the amount of food I need for about 4 or 5 days. And I try not to eat out. I have all my own food in here. And that runs off the battery system that I have, which is an 80 amp hour absorbed glass mat Lifeline battery. That's 12 volt. I have 230 watts of solar on the roof, and here's my solar display. And that will charge that battery, in turn allow that refrigerator to run 24/7. And that was a nice upgrade from the standard absorption refrigerator ran on propane or electricity, because you're not supposed to leave them on when you're driving. you're supposed to have the refrigerator off and your propane off. It made me a little uneasy, so I did swap that out and put the NovaCool, and there's a separate video on that. Another thing to consider is cooking. Do you want to just have an induction cooktop with a large bank of batteries and an inverter to run? Or do you want to have propane gas? Now, since this already had propane gas, I got a newer style propane 3-burner cooktop. Very important to me, because I do not use microwaves, is a gas oven. And I use this gas oven about 3 to 5 nights a week, cooking my dinners in it. And then it's also important to have cooktop ventilation, so the cooktop vents outside. Another thing is nice to have is tank monitoring systems, so you can monitor how much battery, propane, freshwater, gray and black you have. Now, not everybody's going to have a gray and black tank, but if you do have a water tank, it's nice to monitor how much you have. Another thing that you want to consider is air conditioning. This is a 13,500 B2 air conditioning that runs off of electricity, 120 volt AC. I have a generator on board, a 2800 Onan gasoline generator that I could start up, and after about 30 seconds the transfer switch kicks over and I could power up to air conditioning, or I could plug into a 30 amp shore power connection at a campground and run the air conditioning off that. You'd be surprised, in a whole year of using this van, I've only put 2 hours in the generator, and I only stayed at 2 campgrounds and plugged into 30 amp twice, and only ran the air conditioning for 1 night. So all the other nights I slept in this Airstream, I just used my Max Air fan. So this is another part of the HVAC that's worth considering, is some type of roof fan. Now, I see a lot of homemade camper vans and they do have 1 fan. Maybe it's to consider 2 fans, but it's going to take up some real estate on the roof for solar panels. But I have plenty of ventilation here. I have a window here on the side. I have another window here over the kitchen. I have 2 windows that flip out over here. These don't have insect screens on them. And then I have a window back here that slides open. And there are aftermarket screens you can get for the driver and passenger door. Part of the HVAC is the furnace. I have an 18,000 BTU propane furnace. 12 volt spins the blower motor. 12 volt gives the spark for ignition, and propane is its fuel source. So a lot of people aren't comfortable putting propane in their vans, and I understand why. This already had that system, so I was able to utilize it, but I did replace the tank. The tank was over 10 years old. It was pretty rusty, and I felt better, a little bit peace of mind putting a new propane tank on board. Another thing to consider is counter space. You want some prep space if you're going to be preparing food inside. Now, this came with a double sink as new. If I was building this from scratch, I would definitely just put a single bowl large sink on board. But these 2 tops here cover this area to give you a lot more prep space if you need it. One other thing to consider is garbage. Where are you going to put your waste? I try to minimize waste in the van, but you can't prevent it. So I put a waste pail on board as well. And then storage. This van has an abnormal amount of storage on board. For a van, it's pretty excessive. It gives you quite a bit less floor space and window space, but I like that I've been able to put everything separately, so I don't have to move 10 things out to get to one thing. So I have cleaning supplies here. I have kitchen stuff here. Utensils here. Garbage pail we saw already, but I have paper towels and bags. Some more kitchen stuff here. some bulk storage, water pump. This flips out for additional storage. On this side, I have a locker, some book storage, some more kitchen storage, some more here, and here. And I utilize this light a lot at night. If you're trying to stealth camp, the LED lights that are in here are just way too bright. So sometimes I'm able to get away with just using my hood light. But most of the times, the night light that I would use at night would be this little lantern. You can put on the lowest setting. It's made by, I believe, Goal Zero. Lighthouse 250. That was a great find. Then I have separate, I have storage for bathroom supplies. I even have a sleeping bag here. Bipolar stuff. I think they're back in business now. But I have towels, shampoos. And then this is where the microwave was that I removed. And I made the door flip down so it becomes a tray. So while I'm in the shower, I could have everything laid out that I need and I could reach through. And I love coffee, so I made this area into more kitchen storage with some coffee cups and solo cups. And then the bathroom has a lot of storage. All these cabinets. That's the one thing you got to remember is everything gets jostled around. And then I have a wardrobe up top. I have a lot of clothes there. There's even a ledge back here. I can stuff more clothes. It's a lot of biking gear. Socks and underwear. I made this pouch system. So it's definitely ample storage. One of my favorite storage areas is underneath the sofa lounge that I made. And I'm able to store all my bedding, comforter, pillowcases, pillows, everything zips up in these pouches that fit exactly into this compartment. So it's nice to be able to put it all away nice and neat and not have to see it all day long. Then I have an emergency cabinet here. And then on the outside of the coach, on the other side of this cabinet, there's an emergency cabinet there. I'm able to store my chairs. I got 2 Zip-D chairs. I made a canvas storage pouch for them. I have a case of water, cooler bag, and there's even ledges here that when the bed's stored away, there's extra ledge here to store things. Then you have to think about, after you think about storage, you have to think about sleeping. How am I going to sleep into this? So there's a couple options on mine, and it's pretty rare to find a Class B motorhome that sleeps 4 people. But I have a lower bed here, 78 inches long, and right now it's 34 inches wide. Now that's good if you move the backrest and the table for 1 adult to sleep. If I needed 2 adults to sleep, I made a track that this piece here slides out like a drawer and meets up with the cabinet. And each one of the drawer glides holds 250 pounds. So you can put quite a bit of weight there. And then the backrest here fits the void here. And then underneath this mattress up top, I have another piece that fills the rest of the gap right here. That takes a little bit of time to set up. A little bit more time than maybe someone wants to do every day. And when that's fully set up, it does block the aisle quite a bit. So you gotta, from the entry door, come through, climb over the bed to get to the back or the bathroom. Well, when Airstream made this, this was a regular Ford Econoline van. The roof height was about right here. They cut the roof out and they put this high top on it. It's all fiberglass and it gives you quite a bit headroom. In this front area, you have about 7'3". Because of that, they're able to incorporate another bed platform. So this bed lifts up, slides out, and it's a bifold mattress. So you can see the bottom flap. This is the hinge here. And this will fold completely flat and flush and be at this height here. And this bed, I'm 5'9", I have to sleep diagonal to be in there. But it works. It's a very, very comfortable bed because there's a real mattress instead of foam cushions. And there's plenty of space between the mattress and the ceiling for me to turn over in the middle of the night. And I love having the fan right over my head. Get that white noise all night long. Another thing to consider when building your own camper van is privacy. How do you want others not to be able to see inside and see what you're doing? Well, I built privacy curtains. When Airstream made this van, they had a track that went around the whole front windshield. And you were able to close out the whole cab area and back separate from the rest of the world. Well, when you had those up, it was very, very obvious that someone was camping in the van. It looked kind of odd parked in Main Street with that curtain going across the front. So I got rid of it and I put in a curtain that goes across the front cab area. I made snaps and it's all sunbrella material and it goes straight across the back here, snaps in down the side and blacks out the whole back. So now when you're parked there, no one can see into the back and it blocks out all the light, so no light from in here will show outside. But it also is thick enough that it almost acts like an insulation. So I can have the room temperature in here pretty warm, and if you open up the curtain you could feel the colder air when you're camping in the winter. For the sides, I made canvas curtains. I doubled it up for privacy so light doesn't go through. The top, I used the Airstream original curtains that slide across the track. They're less bulkier than the curtains I designed for below. For the sides, I made sunbrella curtains that snap in place. And I put a zipper in, and these roll up. You could zip them up for privacy. And these also are thick enough that it acts, it's hard to do with one hand, folks. It acts as an insulation too. So it blocks out a lot of the colder air. But that's full closeout. Up top, there's a piece that Velcros in place and fills the rest of the void. There we go. And then from the outside, because the van windows are tinted, you cannot see in at all. You can't see any light, nothing. And then I put a regular curtain rail here that I made that blocks out there. And in the bathroom, I made 2 more of those zip up curtain tracks. Another thing to consider is what are you going to do about internet? A lot of people have 4 or 5G internet, they have cell phones, they could do a Wi-Fi hotspot. Well, I found a device that AT&T makes that at the time gave you unlimited 4G internet with no throttling back. For a year is $365. The system installed is $1,500. Comes with an antenna on the roof. And there's also a hidden GPS locator built in. And then what I did was I put a Nest camera in for security. So when I'm near the van and I connect to Wi-Fi, the camera shuts off. But when I'm away from Wi-Fi, the camera kicks back on. so I could check on if my dog was in here, or check on to see if something's going on in the van, just for peace of mind. But the GPS locator is good if you're out hiking in the woods and you want to get back to your campsite. You can look on your smartphone and locate where your van is. Another thing to consider when building a camper van is insulation. Now this van is 23 years old, so the insulation is batt fiberglass. And batt fiberglass is stuffed behind the walls here and the ceiling. And the walls there, in the back doors, the side doors, and in the floor they have styrofoam insulation, which is below the pergo floor that I put on top of it. And the floor still always feels cold on your feet, even when it's warm in here. So I could say that maybe a little bit more insulation would be helpful. On a really cold day when it's 20 degrees out, the furnace will kick on every 10 minutes or so. So you got to understand your heat loss is tremendous because of all the glass. So the more windows you put in, the more heat you could take in, and the more heat can escape in the winter. So you do have to consider, windows are beautiful and they allow a lot of light in, but they do get that heat in, and that is where your heat loss is. Another thing to consider is dining. Where are you going to eat? So when this van was new, there is a jackknife sofa here with seat belts in it. And that jackknife sofa folded out and met almost close to these cabinets. And incorporated into it was a table that was kind of clumsy and very hard to store and very heavy. So when I got rid of the sofa and I built this gaucho bench, I put a lagoon table in. And I went to marineteak.com and got a tabletop for it. And this table swings around, unlocks, so you could swivel it in many different directions. And then I could raise and lower the height with the track to here, up and down. I could swivel the passenger seat. I could lower the table and swing this over, so I could sit at that seat and do work on my computer or eat. And this table, if you did have two people, you could flip it around and you could sit two people there to eat. And there's still plenty of room to get by the table in the aisle. And it is completely removable. And when I fold this bed out, I put the table upside down in the passenger seat. So you have to think about where you're going to put stuff when you're not using them, or when you have to convert something to use it. Another thing to consider, as I mentioned, the generator that I have that I barely use, I also installed an inverter. So I put a 1000 watt pure sine wave inverter on board, and it's in this cabinet right here. And that takes your stored battery energy, your 12 volt DC, and converts it into 120 volt AC alternating current. And I have a button here, a remote button, that kicked that inverter on. And then it will have electricity going to this outlet right here, these two. So what I did is, in the back of the inverter, I plugged in to one of the power sockets, and I ran this countertop socket. And that was it, plug and play, once I wired the inverter and grounded it properly. This inverter will rapidly drain your battery, so it's a point of use, meaning you're going to use it. When you're done with the device, you shut it down. The rest of the electrical outlets in here run off of the 30 amp shore power, or when I have the generator running. So I have those three outlets inside. Then on the outside of the coach, there's another electrical outlet that's on a GFI. Another thing to consider when building your own camper van is safety. Now, I don't have this one here, so big no-no to me, but the carbon monoxide detector, a smoke detector. I took these out to change the batteries and didn't put them back in today. And a propane leak detector is behind the driver's chair. If you move it up, you'll see that green light right there. That's the propane leak detector. That will constantly monitor air quality in the coach and let you know if you have a gas leak. And sometimes when I fill the propane tank, the tenant comes over and starts filling it. He lets some of the air out of the tank, and it's sensitive enough that even if I'm outside the coach, it will go off. This has safety glass on the side windows, very important. So if you're putting your own windows in and cutting your own windows in, make sure there's safety glass. And then make sure you have an egress. So I could get out this door, passenger door, driver's door, and I could climb over the countertop and get out the back door. So make sure you have for safety. Another thing to consider is your management of your 12 volt and electricity. So this has a power distribution box behind the driver's chair. Now a lot of people comment in my original video that why is it behind the chair? What if the driver's chair, the battery goes dead? Well, the front cab area is a separate battery system. That's your regular engine battery, completely separate. The back of the coach has its own battery system, and all that goes through this power converter charger. Has your DC 12 volt fuses, AC electrical 120, and the bottom portion is a multi-stage battery charger. And this is the Boondocker series converter charger. If you want to look them up online, bestconverters.com. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you're building your own camper van or purchasing a camper van, maybe some of the ideas that are in here that Airstream had and I had would help you build your own or help you purchase one and know exactly what you want. Well, this is Patrick of New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, subscribe. I love it, and we'll see you soon.